Let me tell you about two men in the same neighborhood growing up in the same schools and having the same careers. Same salary basically for their entire working lives. At 65, one of them retired with $1,400,000 in investments, a house that was completely paid off, and the kind of freedom most people just fantasize about. The other one, he retired with $180,000, still has over a decade left on his mortgage, and picks up part-time work just to cover the basics. Same starting line, completely different finish. And here's the part that really gets me. The gap between these two men had nothing to do with luck, nothing to do with talent, wasn't even about income. It came down to one single decade, their 40s. That's what today is about, because I genuinely believe this might be the most important financial conversation you ever stumble across. And I don't say that lightly. We're going to talk about why your 40s carry more weight than any other decade, what decisions actually separate people who retire comfortably from people who retire stressed, and what you can do right now, no matter how old you are, to make sure you end up on the right side of this. Let's start with the math, because honestly, this is where it gets kind of fascinating. Your 40s sit at this rare collision point of three financial forces, and they never line up quite like this at any other time in your life. The first one is peak earning power. For most people, income hits its highest point somewhere in the early to mid 40s. That means your 40s are when you have the most raw financial fuel you'll ever have. The second force is compounding time. At 40, you've still got roughly 25 years before retirement. At historical market returns, $1 you invest at 40 becomes about $4 by the time you're 65. Wait until you're 50, and that same dollar barely doubles. Wait until 55, and you're almost just breaking even on growth. Every year you delay costs you exponentially more than the year before. Not a little more, exponentially more. The third force is something most people don't even notice: expense stabilization. By your 40s, a lot of the financial chaos from your 30s starts to calm down. The kids are more self-sufficient. The house feels manageable. You're not rebuilding your wardrobe every year. There's actual margin in your budget, a margin that genuinely didn't exist before. The real question is what you do with that margin. Do you invest it or do you quietly absorb it into a bigger lifestyle? When those three forces align, you have a window that doesn't come back around. And most people, and without even realizing it, waste it. Here's a concrete example. Take someone who turns 40 with $100,000 saved and earns $110,000 a year. If they save 15% of their income consistently from 40 to 65 in diversified index funds, they're looking at roughly $1,350,000 at retirement. But if they only save 5% through their 40s, then panic, save at 15%, starting at 50, they end up with around $780,000. That's over $500,000 less from just one decade of reduced contributions. The money you put in during your 40s has 25 years to grow. The money you put in during your 50s only has 15. You simply cannot buy that time back. Okay, so let's get into the actual decisions, because this is where it gets really practical. Decision number 1, your house. Your 40s bring this enormous social pressure to upgrade. You've worked hard. You've earned it. A bigger house feels like the natural next step, right? And nobody really tells you what it's actually costing you. Adding even $1,500 to $2,000 a month to your housing costs can cost you over $1 million in retirement wealth. When you think about what that money could have compounded into over 25 years, that's not a typo. $1 million traded for more square footage. I'm not saying never buy a nicer home. I'm saying most people make that decision without ever running that number. Decision number 2, your cars. By your 40s, you feel like you've earned something nicer. And look, maybe you have, but there's a real difference between reasonable and expensive when it comes to vehicles. And that difference compounds quietly in the background for years. Running 2 premium cars instead of 2 practical ones can cost you $200,000 to $400,000 in retirement wealth over time. A car gets you from A to B. Retirement. Freedom is not just anything. Decision number 3, your kids' college. I'm going to be honest here because I think people need to hear this even when it's uncomfortable. Parents who drain their retirement accounts or go deep into debt to fund a prestigious university are gambling their own future to give their kids a head start. And here's the thing, your kids have decades of peak earning years ahead of them. You don't. The families who handle college well make some uncomfortable calls. They push for state schools and scholarships. They expect their kids to contribute something. They keep retirement contributions going even when tuition bills are coming in. It feels hard in the moment. It looks like wisdom at 70. Decision number 4, career risk. Here's one a lot of people don't think about. Your 40s are actually your last real window for meaningful income acceleration. By 50, hiring discrimination starts to quietly close doors in ways that are difficult to fight. But ironically, most people get more risk-averse in their 40s, right when a smart career move could add $30,000 to $40,000 a year to their income. That's potentially $300,000 to $400,000 of extra earning power over a decade. The person who makes a calculated move at 43 still has time to recover if it doesn't work out. The person who waits until 53 doesn't really have that cushion. Decision number 5, lifestyle inflation. This is the quiet one, the sneaky one. Your income goes up, your friends upgrade their vacations, their kitchens, their lake houses. The current just pulls you along, and it all feels completely normal because everyone around you is doing it. The families who resist that pull, who basically keep living the way they did in their late 30s, even as their income rises, consistently end up with over $1 million more in retirement than those who let their spending grow with their earnings, over $1 million from just not upgrading their lifestyle. So what do you actually do with this? It depends on where you are. If you're in your 20s or 30s, you have something really valuable right now, which is foreknowledge. You can see what's coming before you're standing in the middle of it. Build savings habits now that you won't break later. Automate your contributions. And decide what enough looks like before excess becomes possible. That's because once it's possible, it's a lot harder to define. If you're entering your 40s, you're standing at the most important financial moment of your entire life, honestly. Audit your expenses. Is your housing actually appropriately sized, or is it a status decision? Are your cars transportation, or are they a statement? Is retirement funding getting what it needs before lifestyle gets what it wants? If you're in your late 40s and recognizing yourself in the wrong story, you still have meaningful time to turn this around. Every percentage point you add to your savings rate from here matters more than you think. Downsizing now instead of in retirement is worth considering, selling expensive vehicles, pursuing that career move that pays more even if it feels uncomfortable. If you're past 50 with less saved than you'd like, focus entirely on what's still in your control. Delay Social Security to maximize your future benefit. Think about working a few more years than you originally planned. Consider downsizing to release home equity. Every meaningful action still counts. It's not too late to change the trajectory. Here's the deeper truth underneath all of this. The reason 40s discipline feels so hard is that it crashes into a story we've been telling ourselves for 20 years. We've worked hard. We've done the right things. We feel like we've finally earned the right to enjoy our success. And that feeling is completely valid. And I'm not here to take that away from you, but there's a difference between enjoying your success and consuming it. The person who resists lifestyle inflation in their 40s gets to experience real lasting enjoyment every single day of a retirement. That isn't stressful. The person who inflates their lifestyle gets a couple of years of excitement and then decades of quiet financial anxiety. The discipline lasts 10 years. The reward lasts 30 or more. The indulgence lasts 2 years. The consequences last 30 or more. Picture yourself at 70. Early morning, the house is quiet. In one version of that morning, you're deciding which trip to book, which grandkid to go visit, and what you feel like doing today just because you feel like it. In the other version, you're running the same calculation you run every single month, whether this month's check is going to cover everything it needs to cover, whether one unexpected bill is going to derail the whole thing. Both of those people made their choices in their 40s. Both are just living with the math of those decisions. The decade is going to pass no matter what. Time doesn't wait while you figure it out. The only question is which version of yourself you're building right now. If you're interested in learning how ordinary people quietly build wealth without complicated strategies, make sure you subscribe, because on this channel, we decode how money actually works. And before you go, check out the description below for trusted brokers in the US and Canada. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.